Chapter 1. The Genius History Forgot. Have you ever heard the name Hattori Shiso? Chances are you haven't. Most people would tilt their heads and ask, who? And yet, this man brought a revolutionary lens to Japanese historical studies, one that fundamentally transformed how we could view world history. His name isn't obscure simply because he was minor or niche. He was intentionally erased because his ideas were inconvenient to those in power. Instead of merely listing events, Hattori proposed a bold new approach, reading history through its underlying structures. Why was this man's voice silenced from the historical record? And more importantly, what can we still learn from him today? Let us dive into the life and thought of a forgotten, intellectual giant Hattori Shiso. Chapter 2. What kind of world did he live in? Hattori Shiso was born in 1901, during Japan's rapid modernization following the Sino-Japanese and Russo-Japanese wars. By the time he began his academic journey spanning the late Taisho and early Showa periods, Marxism was taking root among young intellectuals across Japan. Marxism taught that a society's economic base shapes its social, cultural, and political structures. Questions like, why do wars happen? Why does inequality persist? Were approached through the lens of structural analysis. Hattori studied at Tokyo Imperial University, now the University of Tokyo, and went on to lead the publication of the magazine Sekai Bunka World Culture. He quickly became one of the intellectual forerunners of Marxist historiography in Japan, but it was a dangerous time. The Japanese government used the Peace Preservation Law to violently suppress leftist ideologies. Hattori himself was arrested and imprisoned. In that era, to think freely was to risk your life. He was a man who sought freedom of thought at the cost of his own safety. Chapter 3. What does it mean to read history structurally? In school, we're taught history like a timeline. Year X, event Y, person Z. And sure, those facts are important. But Hattori raised a radical question. What's behind the events? History, he said, must be read through the structures of society. Why did the French Revolution happen? Why did World War I erupt? Why did Japan descend into militarism? Not simply because bad people made bad choices, but because underlying systems of production, governance, and inequality nudged entire societies toward those outcomes. This wasn't just a new method, it was threatening, because it challenged the illusion that history is objective or neutral. It exposed how traditional history was tailored to serve the ruling class. In his landmark book, The Structure of World History, Hattori argued that each country's modernization should be understood as a series of structural mismatches. Japan, he said, failed to democratize like Western nations, not due to cultural flaws, but because its underlying social structures were immature. To adopt Hattori's lens is to stop asking just what happened and start asking, why was it allowed to happen? Chapter 4. Struggles and Erasure. Why was he silenced? Hattori remained loyal to his intellectual convictions throughout his life. That was his strength, but also his undoing. Before the war, he was arrested for his Marxist views. After the war, Japan seemed to regain freedom of speech. But it was a mirage. Under U.S. occupation and the onset of the Cold War, Japan pivoted sharply into anti-communist ideology. Leftists were blacklisted. Marxist scholars were marginalized. Hattori's ideas were deemed dangerous thought. He was quietly pushed out of academia and public life. He passed away in 1976, largely forgotten. Few students today encounter his name. The very thing he warned us about how threatening ideas get erased happened to him. Chapter 5. His achievements were not in vain. Still, Hattori left behind a powerful legacy. His books, The Structure of World History, Theory of Feudal Society, Approaches to Asian World, History continue to be studied by scholars who refuse to forget. But more than his writings, Hattori left us with a way of seeing. He taught us to ask, what lies beneath the surface of what we're told? Without his structural perspective, history might remain a shallow collection of wars and rulers. Thanks to him, we're invited to think deeper, to see the blueprint beneath the facade. Chapter 6. What can we learn from Hattori today? Hattori's life forces us to confront a timeless question. What does it mean to think freely? History isn't just about the past. It's a tool to shape the future by analyzing the structures that produce the present. Why do wars keep happening? Why does poverty persist? Why does politics feel broken? These questions demand more than surface-level answers. Hattori's lens shows us the patterns beneath the chaos. In today's world, drenched in information, polarized by emotion, his way of thinking may be more essential than ever. The freedom he risked everything to protect might now rest in our hands. Chapter 7. What if AI adopted Hattori's vision? Let's fast forward to now and beyond. What if modern AI systems were infused with Hattori's structural perspective? Instead of simply retrieving information, AI could evolve into a tool for structural analysis. In education, AI could teach history not as names and dates, but as systems. It could ask students, what structural tensions led to this event? What economic changes sparked this revolution? This would shift education from rote memorization to critical thinking. In economic analysis, rather than tracking stock prices alone, AI could reveal which production structures are creating inequality, who benefits and who suffers from this economic model. AI could expose root causes, not just symptoms, in solving regional problems. If a town is facing depopulation, AI wouldn't just show charts. A Hattori-style AI would analyze industrial shifts, capital flow, supply chain disruptions, and offer structurally informed solutions rooted in historical context. Imagine an AI that doesn't just respond, but understands systems. Chapter 8. A forgotten genius finds the future. Hattori Shiso was erased, not because he was irrelevant, but because he was too relevant, too soon. Today, with AI as our cognitive amplifier, we are finally capable of applying the vision he fought for. See the structure, expose the systems of control. To think freely, first see clearly. His message was buried, but now we can bring it back. Hattori Shiso, your name was never truly lost. In this age of systems, you shine brighter than ever.